Welcome to the Midnight Matinee with your host and hostess, Robert and Angie Curtis.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Midnight Matinee. We were at the movies today, so we saw a new one.
Yep, and I want to use this so that I don't have to remember this movie, because to say it was disturbing and unsettling and just downright... I was covering my face. Like, I was using my shirt to cover my face because I was so either disgusted or horrified at what I just saw.
Yeah, it was bad.
Okay, well...
Not in a bad way.
So we went to see Bring Her Back.
Yeah.
And it's basically, they have a very short synopsis. A brother and sister witness a terrifying ritual at the secluded home of their new foster mother.
Yeah.
Yep. This is, we found out that this is from the same people who did the,
Talk to Me.
Talk to Me, which
With
I don't know if
little-
you've seen that one with the hand.
Yeah.
And that one was very disturbing.
That was disturbing, but it has its own tone. Because it's more of a lighter movie, whereas this one is filmed in a way that it's very, very dark, very blue.
Very wet.
Yeah, a lot of rain. It rains throughout the entire movie. And it has that's a part of the plot, too.
Yes,
by the way.
and we don't want to give any
we're not
spoilers.
gonna spoil it, so I don't want to go into why that's happening, but
I mean, I literally the whole time. It doesn't even give you a moment to breathe. It is so distressing. Is a good word.
Even
it's a psychological horror.
The like lulls of it, where it's just like a slow pan through a scene, and it's just world building. Even those are disturbing in this movie because it's showing you something that you're like, oh, what is that even? So basically, spoiler free, the premise of this movie is this lady is a social worker for the Department of Children's in Australia, and she lost her daughter, who was blind, in an accident.
In a drowning.
Yeah, she drowned in the swimming pool. And through her job as a child protection person, she's come across these videotapes of how to do this demonic ritual to bring the dead back to life.
Yes.
And
she's going through some serious grief. I mean,
this
she
whole
obviously
movie-
lost a child.
This whole movie is about grief and coming to terms with loss and not coming to terms with loss, and that's the undertone of this entire movie is death and dying and moving on.
Like when she made the comment about how she can go home and sleep in a warm bed, and her daughter is under the ground.
Yeah,
and that made me think of my own mom.
Right.
Like, because you're protective of your family.
Right.
And, you feel momentarily bad for her.
Yeah, well, so the actress that plays the social worker foster mom is really good. She has a whole range of performances in this. And this is like the lady from Hereditary.
That's what came to my mind was Hereditary.
Yeah, like that. Her range is the same as this lady. So if you were a big fan of her in that movie or in movies that she's in, that you'll like this lady too, because there's parts of this movie where you're kind of on board with her, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, she's just a gravy mom and she's got this thing going on, and then the train kind of comes off the tracks a little bit, and then by the end of it, the train is in a parking lot like 2 towns over.
Well, and they said, I read that this was actually her first time into this genre, taking on a role of this type.
Yeah.
So, and this is an Australian film from the A23.
24.
A24. 23, 25, whatever gets the job done. If you know what movie that is, put it in the comments. Now my train has been derailed. I don't know where I was going, but anyway. For her to be able to take that on.
Yeah.
And it was very gritty, very realistic.
Yeah.
Like, I said to him, I was very surprised that it had only an R rating.
Yeah.
With the amount of graphic violence.
It definitely should have been an
depictions.
NC-17. With the self-harm and violence against children in it. It should have definitely been an NC-17 movie, in my opinion.
Well, and this had three young actors.
Yeah.
I mean, the one that played one of the boys, I don't even know how he did it. I mean, he should get an Oscar for that portrayal.
The young boy.
The young boy that plays Oliver, because
There's a scene, and it's not a spoiler. It's a scene where the possessed child is on the one side of the glass and the mom is on the other side of the glass, and then they both kind of scream at the same time, and it's a practical effect. It's not a CGI, and their faces overlap in the mirror, and that little kid nailed it, and it is pouring down freezing cold rain, and you can tell at the end of it he starts to involuntarily shake, and they just let the camera run because it worked so good in that scene. But for a child actor to have that presence, that he could pull off that in-camera effect like that, 100%, man. That kid has a big future.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how old he was. I was kind of scrolling back here to look, but yeah, he was just amazing.
Yeah, unbelievably good actor, and there's very, very disturbing things that child. In the movie, in the universe of the movie, that happens with this child, and that actor, I mean, he absolutely nails it. Like, he has that. There's a lot of times where he's just staring off into space, and it just makes your skin crawl.
He really does.
It's so weird and
like
unnatural.
If I didn't know he was a real person, I thought he would have been something like
CGI or
something like that.
And it's not like the typical herky jerky movements and all that
He's
kind of tropes.
He's not even listed here in this thing. That's the funny thing.
It's the gravitas of his performance is off-putting, because I mean, this is a kid. He's a child actor. He has contact lenses. He has appliances on.
Well, he was listed as 10.
Yeah.
In the movie,
and
about 10.
He just absolutely eats up the screen whenever he's on it, because I mean, it's like, I don't even know. Like, maybe like if you're in a room with like a snake or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's so unnatural, and his performance is so good that you're just like, wow. And the first time that you see it's sort of a spoiler, but it's not really. When they go to the Child Protective Services building, there is a poster for a missing child that is him. And when you first see it, you don't realize that that's who that is, because he's got long hair and he's all cleaned up and he's all smiling. And then you think about the monster demon at the house. You're like, that's the same actor. Wow.
Well, and he's in the poster, so that if anybody wants to know who we're talking about. Right. The poster is him.
Right. But I mean, man.
Just like...
And
there were so many things that was in this movie that... I'm not a mother. I have a dog mother, but I do not have kids. But there were so many things that were red flags to me that I was just like...
Yeah.
Where's Child Protective Services? And then, you realize... She is. She worked
there for 20 plus years in Child Protective Services. She knows the game. And there's a point in this beginning of this movie where she's setting up the older child to be removed from the house, and she keeps doing all of these things that she knows are going to check boxes on the checklist so they can get him moved out.
Yeah, say he's got some psychological damage. Well, and then the younger daughter, the sister that is actually is blind in this movie. And I was really impressed. I thought that it was all CGI, but she is really visually impaired.
And the actor. The blind actress who plays, she's a younger person too. And her physicality in this is amazing, because there's a lot of scenes where she just has to run through a house and like move. I mean, for a blind person to pull that off is That's a good performance in my opinion.
Yeah.
And there isn't a bad performance in this.
No.
Every character who is in a scene nails their performance 100%.
100%.
Yeah, it is really well done, and the imagery is very thematic. So, like in the beginning of the movie, when you see the house, it's more in warm tones, and then there's a point where the guy, they look at one of the characters is looking at their phone and they see the forecast, and it's sunny today and then rainy for the whole rest of the week, and that kind of sets up in your mind the switch that happens, because the tones after that in the house are always blue. It's dark and moody, and the tone and the atmosphere of the sets are very, very good.
Yeah.
Because it gives off that the house used to be a loving home,
joyful.
and
Yeah, because there's a lot of color in the little girl's room, and and the scene at the funeral home. Now I know you deal with funeral homes or the funerals every day, but there was things that were going on that were just making my stomach twist.
Yeah.
Like.
It was weird.
Yeah.
And
very almost traumatizing to us, the audience.
Right.
Like I said, that's why I'm like, I'm going to take it. I want to remember.
You know, if you recall before, we were talking about how the use of blood in movies, right?
Well, that's what I was thinking about the Sinners.
Yeah, and the way this movie uses realistic blood. They don't use the stage. There is one scene where you'll see stage blood in it, but they kind of had to do that because it's out in the open, and to get the depth of color with the camera, you have to have something that's more of a candy red to play off of the lens, because I don't want to go into the mechanics of filming, but they use dark arterial blood that looks real in this movie, and it is absolutely disturbing a lot of times.
I'm guessing it's most of it was practical, but
Yeah.
there are things like, let's just say I don't like cantaloupe as it is, but I'll never be able to look at cantaloupe the same way again.
Yeah, and I, not in the kitchen now, but we have that same Calphalon whatever steak knife set, and I will never look at that chef's knife the same ever again.
I mean, I just felt really bad for those kids. Like, they had no idea what they were going into.
And that's a whole nother level of the trauma, because they're victims, right? They're damaged.
And she's damaging them more.
Right, exactly. And she is a Child Protective Services agent, retired Child Protective Services agent who has 20 plus years in that field, and then she takes these kids into her house and just absolutely
that's why
destroys their childhood.
The brother and sister's their social worker was surprised, like, oh no, she's been here 20 years.
Yeah, it's my best friend. We worked together for 20 years.
I mean, that performance.
Yeah.
Just. Whew.
Yeah, and that whole. You finally get a little relief in the beginning of the end of the movie, the beginning of the third act. You get like a little bit of relief, because you're like, okay, now Child Protective Services is involved. She's seen what's going on. She knows what's going on. Now here comes the raid.
Okay, so this the lady who plays the foster mother is Sally Hawkins, and I just, for the sake of argument, I looked her up, and it looks like she's done a lot of Shakespeare. It looks like she was in the Paddington movies, Godzilla movies. I don't remember from Godzilla, but Wonka. So this is someone who,
she's best known for The Shape of Water.
Okay,
she's the lady who falls in love with the fish man in The Shape of Water.
See, I didn't see that movie.
And she's a fantastic actress. Actually, after you watch this, you're going to be right on board, because she is amazing in this. And then the ending of this movie shows. I don't want to spoil the ending of the movie.
Don't spoil.
But it shows that there are people that cope with grief, and there are people that grief just eats them alive.
That drown in it.
Right. And that's the overarching theme of this movie, is that the son, the the older brother and the sister are coping with their grief, right? And they're trying to move forward into a new life, and they have a plan for their future. Everything is healthy and going forward. And then they're put in the household of this woman whose grief is 180 degrees in the wrong direction. And she is never, ever going to be healthy. And it's a bad place that she's in.
I sometimes wonder that people like who do go into social work, there's compassion for those people. There's a lot of compassion, empathy in those people. And how they cope with death sometimes I think is overwhelming. As someone who is a very compassionate person, as somebody truly is crying in my presence, I start to well up.
Yeah.
Like, I guess that what they call that, empathy, or not sympathy, but empathy, I think it is.
Yeah.
And I think that that's part of her undoing, is that she was so compassionate, so loved her child and whatnot, and to have that taken from her, that it's just, she spiraled out of control to realms that,
Yeah, because her daughter's death was kind of sudden, and she never had a chance to really cope with it.
Yeah.
And it really affected her negatively, and that's the thing that we talk about a lot on this channel is the way an actor can bring you into their pain, right? Like a really good actor through their performance can make you sympathize with them, and this actress is very good at that, because there's a lot of scenes where if it were a lesser actress, you'd just be like, she is a maniac. And but she has a personality, and she is a kind of warm person for parts of it. So you're kind of like, okay. And there is like a scene where they're all together and they're enjoying life, and everything is fun, and you kind of let your guard down for a minute, and you're like, well, maybe this isn't so bad. Maybe I'm not watching a horror movie.
Yeah, there was even like almost a small touchy moment between the older boy and the foster mom.
Yeah,
where you're like, she kind of lets her guard down, and I think she was genuine of what she was saying.
Yeah,
and it basically alludes to why she went down the dark path that she did. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
100%. So let's reel it back. Even though I'm not reeling anything. I think that we both came up. I think we have both decided we're going to rate it as a 4 out of 5, which is, here's our rating scale. Nightmare fuel, which takes you to the edge of terror, leaving a chill in your spine, dark and twisted in all the right ways. And dark and twisted,
it's definitely
is a good way.
The vibe in this movie is twisted a lot.
I love a good psychological movie.
Yeah.
But I could have done without some of the graphic scenes that they had in this movie. That was almost a step over. I even asked him, I said, is this body horror? Because it was, it was just...
And that's kind of what
it was almost too much for me.
What we had talked about as soon as we were leaving the theater. Like, there were scenes in this where a different director would have either changed the camera angle so that you couldn't directly see what was happening, or they would have like cut to someone's reaction of what was happening. Instead, you're locked in to the awful thing that's happening.
Yeah, I looked over and I was looking away, and he even was looking away.
I was like, whoa.
And I'm like doing this. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah, it was over the top in a lot of places. And
if you like that over the top, I am not a big fan of the slasher gore movies, and I've said that from the beginning. And this literally was just too much for me.
Yeah.
And we had just eaten right before. We had actually gotten the little bites, from the movie theater and had our little meals. Yeah.
And the guy behind me had something with a lot of ketchup on it and set it on the little thing right behind my chair.
Oh, God, so you're smelling
so
ketchup.
I could smell the ketchup the entire movie, and I was just kind of like, ugh.
I would have been like, oops, fell off. Well, we weren't in our normal seats, too.
No, we were actually like...
I am very militant, and I like the row F in the center, and we had to be in row G, slightly off.
Yeah. And then when we got home, we found out that you could actually buy this on...
I read you can watch it on Apple TV.
Yeah. So I'm kind of like, we could have seen it in...
And I could have saved a whole hell of a lot of money.
We could have watched it in our theater.
Yeah. Anyway, is there anything you've been watching this week that you think? I just finished The Final Destination. I hope y'all enjoyed my little foray into I tried to help him out for once and see if...
A lot of people really like that. It's got a lot of views.
I've done a little editing in the back. I used to like to make music videos and stuff like that, and so I thought, well, let me try. Help him out. I gave him the center. I gave him the meat, and he put the sandwich buns on it this week. And
I liked it.
Me in the basement without any good lighting.
She didn't turn on all of the studio lighting, so.
And he asked me, he goes, "Did you ever wipe the camera before you on some of those?" I said, "I think it's the lighting."
No, the camera lens has got a bunch of goop on it.
Just for record, I did it on my iPad in HD. It's a brand new iPad, but it does get a lot of use.
It's not the 4Ks that we like,
Well, no, I rendered it in 4K, but
well, it's got to upscale it.
Yeah.
That was another thing I noticed about this movie, talking about the cinematography. It's not 16.9.
Oh, it wasn't?
No, it was odd the way, because usually when you watch a movie in theater,
it's wide.
There's letter boxes at the top and bottom of the screen, and there wasn't in this.
Really? I didn't even catch that.
So the movie was actually in more of a square format than the cinematic format.
I wonder if that lends to why it's also on Apple TV.
Could be.
But most TVs and most everything these days,
you
very rarely see.
Widescreen,
I was going to say, you don't see even a lot of television shows. So.
Even this, they were filming right now, it's letterboxes. That's how standard it is, but in this movie it was not. It was whatever that format of the screen is. And I was, in my mind, when I noticed it, I was trying to math it to see how many it was.
I was thinking that I did notice in my own video that I eye roll and look up a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that how you look up means you're trying to access certain points of your brain, but I almost want to have an eye roll counter. For every time I eye roll and I had a problem with the iPad because of where the camera is. When I was looking at the screen like this one, I'm looking straight on. I can see myself. But this one, I was always slightly off.
Right.
So that threw me off.
You're looking at yourself recording it. You're not looking at the lens.
Yeah.
The lens is your friend.
The lens is your friend. Helpful tip from Bob.
Yeah. Make eye contact.
So, I would recommend seeing it if you like.
Yeah.
I told him, I said, I may not watch it again. I may watch it one more time just to see what I missed.
Right.
But I don't know if this is something that I'd be like, pull this out regularly if it's on TV. I like dark. I like dark psychological.
Yeah.
But this kind of went into that.
This is traumatic.
Yeah.
It is traumatic. And then I like I say, like Angie said, I probably wouldn't watch it again. I may watch it at some point in the future. But it's so...
And we literally just saw this. We went to the 2:30 showing, and it's 6:13
yeah,
right
we
now.
just watched it a little while ago. So
I told him,
I said,
we walked out, and I go, I need Cold Stone ice cream after that.
It's a traumatic movie, and it's got violence against children, and has violence against adults. It has... every bad checkbox there is.
Yeah, I was going to say, things that they would consider... crossing
she gives
vices, not vices. What's the word I'm looking for?
She gives alcohol
Taboos.
to minors, because both of the kids are minors, and then there's this whole scene where they're all drinking together, and it's
that's
there's you couldn't even read the synopsis of this on TikTok without getting banned. That's how many check marks there are in this
That's
film.
probably why my synopsis was just so short.
Right.
A brother and sister go to a foster care, and then everything goes to hell. Literally. No.
Yeah.
I was asked, and I even asked him, I said, what would the boy be? Because I was like, is he a succubus, or is he a demon, or what, what would category? I guess.
Well, the mom says that she put
like a conduit.
An angel into him, through the ritual.
But she
put an angel into the boy, and then that's how the boy works as a conduit to take the soul from the dead body and then transfer it into the new body.
Yeah.
And that's how the whole thing works. So
yeah. Okay. Reel it back.
Yeah, I would recommend it, but like I say, I would go into it knowing that it's a traumatic.
If you have a lot of triggers about death, and violence and gore,
against children, don't go and see it.
Don't go see it.
Yeah, because it's not important enough of a movie that I would say suffer through it to get the the end effect.
You may need a safe space with lots of kittens afterwards.
Right.
I mean, we're Generation X, so garden hose and neglect. No.
Yeah. But there's a lot of trauma in this movie, and it's emotional, physical, just...
I would not take a child to this movie.
I definitely wouldn't let a kid see this movie, no.
We've already admitted on several occasions that watching Salem's Lot at a very young age, ruined our childhood.
Yeah. I can imagine if you let a kid see this movie, you'd probably be paying some hefty therapist bills for the rest of that person's life, because it'd be messed up.
I'm going to need therapy after this.
It was bad. It was very bad, but it tells a story.
Yeah, it's a good... I mean, it's...
And that's
I wouldn't say a good
story,
story, but it's definitely a very interesting story.
Well, I mean, it's about death and
how people
coping, and that's the overarching theme of the movie. And if you go into it realizing that, like, these people are coping with death well, and this woman is not.
And I want to know, what was grapefruit?
That was their code word for each other, so that's why.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into anything more. But,
all right.
Okay, I guess we'll see you next time on the...
Midnight Matinee.
Midnight Matinee. Okay, here's Todd.
Here's Todd.
Bye!
You've been watching the Midnight Matinee, brought to you by the Veritas Project. So when the clock strikes 12, grab your tickets for the next episode of the Midnight Matinee.